Can you talk about Phil Spector? What it was like to work with him? What he was like? Did you?
He was a real funny guy. You know, I always liked what he did anyway, with Wall of Sound. But what we had a Wall of Sound already without his Wall of Sound. I mean, at one time there was 14, 16 players in there, so that's about a pretty big wall. But he never came out of the control room. I don't remember seeing him coming down, and I was there for everything except 2 sessions. And he's a funny dude. They should, I've said it many times, they should have videoed and recorded what was going on in the control room, because it was really funny. I didn't know how he got anything down.
This is during All Things Must Pass. Correct?
Yeah, during the recording of All Things Must Pass at EMI. And I thought it was great. I love the sound. I love that big sound. You know, they wanted to back it off after a while because they wanted to hear it raw. But even in the headphones, we could hear it. So there was some that was imprinted in every song, and then some was added. You know, halls and chambers, but he knew how to do it. And George wanted it at first because that's he got Phil Spector. You know. But it was really cool.
That was his decision to hire Phil Spector?
Yeah, that's who he wanted to do the record, and
because he liked the big sound. Is that why? Or
I guess I don't know what his particular reasoning for it was, but it was right for the moment. You know, it was at the moment. It was really right. You know.
He also produced "He's So Fine." Was there some sort of connection with the?
Oh, My Sweet Lord, yeah. And I called him on it, and after we recorded it, and I said, well, if anything ever comes up, he did not know it. It was subliminal. You know, he did not know that it was anything other than what it was. And it turns out because I said, hey man, that's that song, He's So Fine.
Well, you could say that. You could say that about a lot of songs. They can have similarities.
Oh, there's only how many notes in scales? You know, like 12 or 13 notes, and from C to C. You know, everything is out there. You know, and if you're dialed in on that creative principle, everything flows to you and through you, and it's up to you to decide what you're supposed to keep and what you're not. But a lot of times those things, you know, go unnoticed at the moment, you know. And then there's always somebody that says, hey, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a big deal over something that happened.
You're already in the middle of it.
Yeah, and so what do? You ride it on out. I wrote a song, Perfect Strangers. And it's like ships in the past, ships that pass in the dead of night, stars that shine in the full moonlight, sailing across the gentle sea, the island waits for you and me. That's also I didn't know it, so you know, after I had written it and recorded it, and I went, oh, I couldn't believe it, you know. But those things happen, you know, they do. And that's what happened with My Sweet Lord. Lord have mercy, George Harrison didn't need to take anything from anyone. He already had it all, you know. Musically, his ability to invent himself with a slide guitar and leave a mark that is so beautiful and positive, and people can't even come near it, you know. It just came from that special place.
Do you have any stories that you can remember about Phil Spector, or like anything funny in the studio, or was he prone to pulling guns on anyone?
No, I'll tell you what though, he was upset that they wouldn't let him bring one into the country, you know. But he had this big meatball bodyguard with him who was just out of the way. But no, he was upset that they wouldn't let him bring any guns.
Was he?
He was a little bit wild. I know he was, you know, because he was Phil Spector. You know, he was like one of the most creative and innovative and respected producers, you know, in that time, you know, in the mid 60s up into the mid 70s, you know.
Yeah, he was considered one of the greatest producers at that.
Ahmet Ertegen, boom, there you go. Ahmet Ertegen opened the door for him. And
well,
I liked it. I still like the big sound because nobody else has it. You know?
well, it's you know, it doesn't fit in today's music.
No, well, nothing fits in today's music because
But that's
today's
the-
music can't fit.
This is the thing about music, though. It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
Sounds are constantly changing. People's ears are constantly changing. So, you know, that's how that goes. But did you enjoy working with him?
Yeah. Well, he stayed out of the way and let everybody be creative and like anything you heard. Nobody came down in your face, and you know we all had free reign. You know, George didn't get us there to tell us what to do. He got us there to be a part of this thing, and we were the core. Eric and me, Carl and Jim when they arrived, but we were the core for the whole album.
So how did that start off? Did you arrive at the studio just you and Eric and a couple other guys?
Yeah.
No one else?
No, we'd all just kind of pop in there at the same time and say, all right, we'll see you guys like tomorrow night, you know, 7 o'clock. You know, or we'll do it, have an early one, George would say, and it'll be 4:30 and or whatever. You know, and he always there was a big spread of Indian food. And,
Well, I was going to ask you about the Hare Krishnas.
oh, they're liable to pop in. They had an open door policy, and they popped in. We're in the middle of recording, and here like 4 or 5 of these Hare Krishnas, and I believe that there's one of them that is around, and I'm in communication with him on Facebook. It's still around, and he's written a book. But these Hare Krishnas, boom, they pop through the thing, you know, throwing peanut butter cookies and ringing bells and banging drums, and we're, you know, bald head with a big tall thing.
So was George okay with them coming into the studio?
Yeah, well, I mean, they just made their little. It wasn't an every night thing.
Were they
But
staying?
they came in and went out the door. They came in.
Ching, 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 and then out the door.
Yeah. It was something. I mean, you know, I've never seen anything like that.
When did the break off come with George and the Hare Krishnas that were staying at his place?
Oh, well, there was a time when they was just getting the big house happening.
It was a fire park.
Yeah, fire park. But they were living in the gatehouse and the other gatehouse before it was all completely done. But there was a bunch of Hare Krishna there, and I was there this afternoon. I was there a whole lot, because I used to date Patty's sister. But there was these bunch of Hare Krishna there, and they had like the kids with them and stuff. And there was a huge pond, a koi pond. I think that's what it was, but it was a huge pond. I mean, and a big one, like big as this house, kind of a thing. And one day, one of those kids fell in, and the mothers and fathers didn't do anything to help the baby in the fountain. Terry Dorian went tearing out there, grabbed the baby up, and everybody was freaked out. And they were saying, God will save our child. And that day, Terry Dorian was God, you know, if there was anything to do with anything. Well, that was an amazing thing. And from then on, they couldn't come onto the property. You know, I didn't see anybody after that. You know, he may have had one or two of his buddies. But pretty amazing, you know. I have a lot of stories, you know. I'm glad you asked me these things, and we never know what you're going. I never know what you're going to ask.
Well, while we were on the subject, and you said that Ahmet had gotten involved with
Phil Spector.
Phil Spector, yes. Can you tell me about Ahmet Ertegen?
Ahmet Ertegun was a great man, and I had known him from like 1965 and 66 and 67 and 8 in Memphis. Anytime, because I mean, I had my ear to the ground at Stax and American studios. And anytime like Ahmet was going to be coming to town, or Jerry Wexler or Tom Dowd, it seemed like the buzz was quicker than the plane, you know. Everybody knew who was going to be there. And so I had a carte block, you know, open door policy for me. Blanche. It really wasn't a card either, you know, but I could go in any time. But that's where I met Ahmet. And everybody probably heard in me then, you know, something that was very promising. One time, this is many years later after Derek and the Dominoes and everything, I was in a restaurant called Alice's Restaurant on the ocean, you know, out in Malibu way. And I had this girl with me. Anyway, I'm sitting over by the window and Bobby Whitlock! Look over here, it was Ahmet Ertegen and Jerry Greenberg. And I went, I'll be damned. He said, sing C.C. Ryder and I'll make you a star. He wanted me to do C.C. Ryder. I don't know, I wasn't ready for all of that. I didn't get into my music life to be a star. I got in it to play, you know, and to express myself, to write songs and sing. I wasn't looking for all of that. This is a good story. When I was out at Eric's, when I first got to England, and it was just me and Eric living at Hurtwood Edge, he was taking me about to meet all of his friends and everybody, and that included the Rolling Stones. Those guys actually really do hang out with each other. They're friends. And anyway, we got an invitation to go to Talk of the Town and see Stevie Wonder. And so, wow, so this is way cool, you know. So we got done up in our nice threads and jumped in Eric's Ferrari, and off we go to London. And we pull up there, and there was a big table. I didn't realize that all the Stones were going to be there, but it's all the Rolling Stones and their girlfriends and wives, every one of them. That's this huge table, and a place reserved for Eric and myself. And I'm just like, God damn, man, this is awesome. You know, American. I knew them already, but I had met them, but I didn't expect this. And anyway, there was a guy came walking up, and he had the bill for the night. You know, the bill of fare. You know what the food is and the wine and all that. Of course, you know Stevie Wonder's up there just doing it. You know, but well, this guy came and he had the bill. You know, handbill. That's the word I'm looking for. And he said, would you guys mind signing it? So Mick took it, he signed it, passed it down to Charlie, he signed it, Keith signed it, and then somebody's wife, and then went around, Eric, he signed it, and handed it to me, I signed it, and went on around the thing, and got back to Mick, you know, and I heard Charlie Watts, you know, Bill Wyman, his wife, and Mick started reading out everybody's name that was on it, and he said, and Eric Clapton and Rocky the Flying Squirrel. Who's Rocky the Flying Squirrel? I said, that would be me. I did. I didn't feel like, I mean, there were all my friends and rock stars, you know, big time superstars, but I didn't feel that I was one of those guys, but it's not a badge that you get and that suddenly you lose. You know, you are what you are and who you are from the moment you step into your life. And there was a pretty incredible time in my life. You know, I was all eyes and ears, and everybody was good to me, and we were all good friends. And they wanted to be rock stars. You know, I didn't. I enjoyed my tenure as that, and I managed to live long enough to appreciate my handle, you know. Yeah, I thought that was a good story that you might appreciate. I do. It makes me feel good remembering that. I just didn't feel like I was worthy then, you know. I hadn't really lived. and I was embarrassed about my upbringing, chopping cotton and picking cotton, and hoes and beans and riding on the back planters and stuff, and, you know, having a hard life, you know, picking up scrap iron and all that to put some food on the table. I was almost like embarrassed about my upbringing. I'm sitting around with all these superstars, and so because I felt that part of me, you know, I didn't want to expose it. No one knew my background. I hate to say it, but you know, I was embarrassed that I grew up in abject poverty, you know. But turns around that my upbringing was what turned me into the man I am sitting across the table from you. You know, sum total of our, you know, of who we are. You know, our life unfolds before us. You know, it's happened to me. It's happened to me. You know, I'm just glad to be here, and I'm glad that I have something to offer. And I feel compelled to do this, make these videos, and tell these stories. This is stuff that only me. I'm the only one that knows about it, except for Ertegen. You know, he'll go, "Oh yeah," but for sure, you know, I feel blessed and very fortunate.